Hello, good evening, good evening. Oh, sorry. I wanted to kind of just go through some charts. We could just call this a chart talk or, chart logic, whatever. That's what I called it in my Discord. You call it chart logic, pretty much whatever. But I just wanted to kind of go through some charts and look at some flow as well and try to see, where potential trends are within individual names. I went over the overall market and the indexes pretty much yesterday in our preview, but it looks like we're ending up to get this push up um, after this consolidation range in most of these equities, right? I mean, sorry, most of these indexes where we kind of have a bull flag sitting on the Nasdaq right now, um, and we're probably seeing some breakout, overall positive momentum. Overall positive momentum consolidation is a great sign to be able to create the next leg up, right? So it'll be trying to start to see, how maybe the index reacts when it reaches around 48.30, and or maybe if it blows straight through that and we start to push to the 48.50, 55s range in terms of SPY. And then in terms of NASDAQ, it almost looks like a green light right here for at least this move from where we currently are at 16,530 up to another 90 basis points. No, about another 56 basis points, but about 100 points overall movement upwards. And then the Dow itself, this bad boy is looking ready for another like 100 points, maybe a little bit more than that. I could probably find that in a Fibonacci extension just to see where things start getting spooky. But yeah, so okay, so looks like up here, obviously with trend and stuff, another 100, 200 points to potentially 300, 350. And that looks like a pretty normal day. So that's very well plausible for Dow to really get this big move if those 30 names get some love. And they did so far this today. Verizon up 2%, and Boeing up 2%, 3%, sorry, and Goldman Sachs as well. And a lot of the banks are within it. So they definitely got some love. Apple's in it too. Apple passed the $3 trillion market cap this week. But yeah, so I did want to go into some individual names that I kind of see some setups on and kind of get back into this. So I saw some flow earlier, pretty much showing a decent amount of people putting in some sweeps, looking for the, what is it? The January 19th, so like a week out, pretty much. 150 strike is what they're coming in at, and they're sweeping it. $3 million sweeps, $4.3 million sweeps, $958,000 sweeps. And they're deep in the money, right? But that's still pretty solid news. So overall, like as you see the cusping here, whenever you see that drop, that first drop, and then you see a smaller one, I just think of it a double bottom kicker, double first bottom here. Usually it's the other second bottoms around here, but no, this one's all up here, showing bullish, even more bullish momentum, if you will. In terms of where to next, I don't know. We're kind of in uncharted territories. Um, so maybe best to pull out a fib and see what they got cooking. So 184. So another $2 move. That's very well possible. No, sorry, 184, 184. So from where we closed at right here, another 2.5% or so. Maybe it pushes slightly above it and then ends up retreating back and closing Monday or Tuesday's trading or Wednesday's trading. If we get a little inside candle, maybe the inside candle that pushes up to here. So we can see some points there. I wonder how the options would look on this. Let's take a look. Maybe, well, it is just Monday, so this Friday's expiration, the what call maybe we're not at 180 or we are at 180. We're 182. Okay. Well, let's see what strike has some good volume. The 185 has some good volume. Um, so if we were to make this move from the 182 towards 185, which is pretty much about what I was mentioning, another 1.5% move or so, 2% move, we could see these options potentially like doubling in a little bit, doubling in a quarter. So like 125% roughly, if I'm pricing the options correctly. Um, but yeah, that's basically asking for a $2.50 move, with some pretty good potential. And that sounds interesting overall. But yeah, so that's one. AMD, pretty much an empty chart. Um, I wouldn't even say a lot is going on right here. Not too much is going on. Um, it, when I look at a chart, I don't see something exactly in this first moment. I start just drawing shapes and seeing what forms, kind of. Or most times I just go straight back to horizontals. I try to find horizontal trend lines instead, just to keep it a little bit easier. Like this is obviously a resistance of some sort, right? Not so much of a horizontal resist. I mean, a diagonal resistance because it's just had so much exponential growth over the past like few months, really. But you do potentially kind of start to see a double bottom as well, forming something similar to Apple, but not quite. Where it's just forming that cusp here, forming this cusp, and if we keep this uptrend back up, then it could be the double bottom. Um, but yeah, I'm not really seeing much out of this, honestly. Um, Personally, at least, I should say. That doesn't mean you or John or Betty can't trade this tomorrow and fucking go pull in 200%. It does not mean that. I mean, like, they definitely can, right? I just personally don't really see much of anything. But if you see something on this as like an actionable step, please comment below. Let's do that. Amazon, Amazon, Amazon. This thing has been in like consolidation low key this entire year, to be honest. Like, it was up like 2% this year. But yeah, the only thing I'm really starting to see is this type of vibe, like some good supports. So if it's hit good supports over the past few months, past year about, it may be ready to move on, you know? Look at a 4 hour frame maybe. Is it like is this too abrupt? That may be too abrupt. I don't know where I'm seeing it, but I do kind of see like this rising pennant, you know? This pennant, but all in all, it looks pretty good. It's just the main fact of it hitting resistances and supports most times and holding these supports almost every time. Yeah, pretty much every time, damn near every time, right? Um, so I actually really like that. This interests me because it defines this line at 35.13 because we was once rejected on heavily, right? And was rejected again, but then acted as a breakout, came back, retested it from the above, and it came out again in earnings, cracked it, put it back in trend where it was, and it continued to show resistance and pressure here at 35.13. So this could be, as we continue to wedge up closer and closer to this 35.15, this could be interesting going forward as a potential another breakout to maybe, back up to the 37 range within the ensuing. Is that a word, right? Like ensuing as in like upcoming, right? I'm definitely spelling it wrong. Okay. Occurring for, okay, yeah, as a result, yeah. Ensu yeah, ensuing. Great. Yeah. So honestly, depending on how volume goes tomorrow, and today was a solid day, 2.2%. It may be worth to keep an eye on to try and see if we get the rest of this run, this 3% or so. And then, yeah, and then we'll see what happens from there. If price sentiment and action pushes it back down to make it stay in trend, or do we get maybe some news out of Amazon that just comes up perfectly and we're able to take that rocket out into the next level? It's not quite exact, but it's just kind of an idea. CrowdStrike, oh my gosh, this thing was a beautiful short, but I haven't really seen much of anything. Just a lot of little what do they call them? Bear flags. You know, these little bear flags kind of things are happening, or even more consolidation in pennant range, right? Where again, the last time where we consolidated here and lost strength, we saw the movement back down to here, which is kind of about roughly where it was at resistance wise prior. So, in all honesty, if it does crack, I do see it getting possibly back down to this range, maybe like the 183, 184s, maybe like the ones like 80s, but not much below that. And I think we will start to see some buying kick in this range here at 175, because it has been respected here multiple times before, depending on where the volume is in terms of, let's look at the volume profile, no? Yeah, the volume shelf is actually right here where it is. So if we continue to break down much more than this, that's